All right, welcome into the CFP season show. This is your host, Chris. You can find me on Twitter at CFP Talk 07. We got an awesome guest tonight, Pick Six Previews. He does a fabulous job on the preview game and in college football in general. I've been buying his digital and hard copy for years. Um, let's bring him onto the stage. Hey, man, how you doing?
Hey, Chris, doing great. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for that great intro, and thanks for reading the preview the last couple of years. It's great to be on here previewing 2025 with you.
Yeah, I wanted to the first thing before we got into like the college football stuff. Could you well first off tell everybody where they can find your magazine, where they can get it at, the site and all that, your Twitter, and then after that, could you just kind of like just a brief like the process of putting this together? Because I don't think people realize I was actually telling a buddy of mine that I'm trying to get him to buy your magazine, and he was like totally shocked that you are a one man show. Could you just kind of walk through that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for those unfamiliar, it's Pick Six Previews, and it's a college football preview magazine, just like the ones you see on newsstands. But a little bit different is this is a one-man show. It's just me. I'm doing all 68 Power Four teams, and I'm a numbers guy. I have all my advanced stats, my formulas, but I put it into a readable format. It sometimes gets a little tiring to read so many formulas or so many acronyms or abbreviations. So you're going to find written text, position by position breakdowns. I try and go really deep dive onto every team. Not just your Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State, but we can dig into Purdue and Indiana as much as you want. So again, all 68 teams. The claim to fame is that they've been grading the prediction accuracy for all these magazines the last decades. And the last 10 and 5 years, I have the number one most accurate preview magazine in the country, beating all the legacy brands. So that's a point of pride. I always said if they're going to keep score, I want to win this thing. So that's the goal. And hopefully we're back here with another win in 2025. But yeah, I encourage you to go check it out. It's pick6previews.com, pick6previews on Twitter. It's not in any stores yet, no bookstores or anything, but on the website, you'll see a couple sample teams, some testimonials, and more information. So go check it out, pick6previews.com.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I can't even remember the year I discovered or I found you on Twitter or whatever, but I remember when I would buy, every single magazine you could possibly buy. And it's not any disrespect to any of the other magazines, but over the years I have noticed I literally it's just yours. That's it. I just it's gotten to where I get yours, and I think I've joked with you before about this. The only thing is, I wish it would come out in May instead of
Yep.
June or
Yep.
July. But I understand you're a one man show, and plus, what I love about yours is probably the most up to date. Well, I would say it is the most up to date one out of all of them.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's kind of the problem, but also a benefit of it is being a one man show. I am a little behind on the release date, but I use that to my advantage because you have all that spring transfer portal, all those players moving, a lot of injuries happen, even some transfers late in the game, like the BYU quarterback being ruled ineligible. That shifted my Big 12 prediction a little bit. So you're getting a really up to date edition. I appreciate that, and yeah, I think we crossed paths because of the whole playoff expansion debate, and me and you were among the few that were hunkering down, wanting to stay with the four-team playoff, and wanted to keep all the old conferences together. Because me and you, I know we're traditionalists. We love the old tradition, the old regionality of the sport. So yeah, I remember that's how we first connected. But yeah, great to be on the show, and congrats for launching it. And yeah, I'm excited to break it down with you.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's jump into it. I guess let's start in the SEC. I noticed I was looking at the magazine last night actually, and your top four in the SEC is kind of similar to everybody. It seems like there's a consensus among the majority of people that it's going to be Texas, Bama, UGA, LSU. So the order may change with some people, but that's actually your order in your magazine. Before we get into like those four, is Florida can Florida get into that top four tier this year? And what is your outlook for Florida? Because I'm pretty high on them. I don't know that I have them in that four the top four, but with DJ Lagway coming back, the offensive line and all that, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Florida.
Yeah, well, it's crazy how different a few months make in college football because right there around October, November, the hot seat was on fire for Billy Napier. They were ready to fire him, and their athletic director put out a statement saying, we stand with him. We're going to see it out through the 2025. From there, they win four straight. They win the bowl, and they bring a lot of momentum into 2025. I think he started quarterback with DJ Lagway. And in the book, I talk about this the plus minus, when he's on the field and when he's not on the field, it was night and day difference. Without him, they were like a bottom 10 offense, but with him, they were a top 10 offense. So I think a second year of him at quarterback. And what I like about Florida is that they were able to retain a lot of guys that could have gone pro. Two offensive linemen and two defensive linemen were NFL draft prospects. All four of them came back to Gainesville. You like seeing that if you're going to predict a team. So a lot of returning starters, a lot of returning production. I think they're going to make a lot of gains this year. I have them 13th in the country, but the catch with Florida is that schedule. It might be the hardest schedule in America, probably the hardest SEC gauntlet out there, them in Oklahoma. So I just don't know how to forecast that further. I mean, it's going to be a great team, but you go through with the toughest teams in the country, so they'll be tagged with some losses.
Yeah, absolutely. So jumping into that four, the Bama conversation, I like seeing you had him at two because we actually we've debated this on our show. My co-host, he's not that high on Bama. I actually, as of today, I have him also in Atlanta, like you do. What is it about Bama that's got you pretty hyped up about them and have them in the SEC championship game versus Texas?
Yeah, well, with Alabama, they hit a lot of the check boxes that I really look for. A second-year coach, you see a lot of gains in the second year, scheme-wise, at least defensively, they have that. I like that they brought in Kalen DeBoer's right-hand man over all these years, Ryan Grubb, their play caller. He's a great schemer. You saw them lead Washington Huskies to the national title. So I think that's going to be a great move. And then the other thing is talent-wise, they're the number one recruiter over the last 5 years. They have that high school recruiting. But, if you watch the NFL draft most years, you usually see, 10, 12, 13 Alabama players get drafted. This time around was only five. And you wonder what happened there. They're all back in Tuscaloosa. I mean, it's all these NFL guys came back, similar to what I just said about Florida, but even more on Alabama's defense. They're all back. So one of the best defenses in the country. And one last thing on them, I added this to the book this year. In addition to the high school recruiting and the transfer recruiting, I also have in there the amount of 2026 mock NFL draft picks. And I know we're a little ahead of the schedule with the mock drafts, but still a good indicator. Alabama number one in next year's draft forecast with 15 draft prospects. So very, very talented second year coach bonus. And I think they're going to make it pretty far into the playoff.
I'm with you 100%. I'm kind of amazed. I wished I pulled it up before we got on the show, but I'm pretty amazed at the DeBoer conversation, or people forgetting maybe the kind of coach he is. I can't remember the exact record, but I know he's like undefeated. I think between Kirby Smart, Dan Lannon, Sarkeesian, and I believe there was somebody else, and I can't remember who it was, but like he has an undefeated record against what we all consider some of the top coaches in college football. So I'm a big DeBoer fan, and and like you said, Ryan Grubb coming back, I'm pretty high on Alabama this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, people forget. I think it's just because it was a transition year. I mean, this is still the Alabama machine. It's still the top recruiter. There's NFL players everywhere. I actually had a chance to go down to Tuscaloosa last year, my first time ever. It was the Bama Georgia game. And I got to tell you, I mean, I'm stuck up here in Pennsylvania. I don't get to see great environments like that every day. So that was electric. I got to see a great game. And, Alabama, my hat's off, respect to that program and that fan base. But yeah, I think it's going to bounce back big time this year.
Yeah. So moving on to UGA, I don't even know if you know, but I'm a UGA fan. I kind of have a theory on UGA. I'm curious to, and like I said, I haven't got to the SEC portion of your magazine yet, so I'm kind of learning as you talk SEC right now. Um, my theory on UGA, this is kind of probably the first time, in my opinion, in Kirby Smart era, other than his first year, you take away his first year, where I could really see anywhere from 9-3 to 12-0. Are you there at Georgia, or do you expect Georgia to keep just trucking along, 10-2, 11-1 type year?
Yeah, well, for the first time in probably 3 seasons, we saw Georgia look a little bit human last year, and it wasn't the normal Georgia dynasty that we had grown accustomed to. It was some missed tackles, it was a little bit of sloppy scheme, maybe a lack of playmakers that they were used to having at receiver. Remember, Carson Beck came into the preseason as a preseason Heisman favorite, and it didn't click. So, yeah, so a lot of questions coming back, and it's all relative. I still have Georgia fifth in the country, but that's only good enough right now for third in the SEC. Again, the things I look at, the high school recruiting trend, they're up there right there with Alabama. Number one, you call it 1A, 1B, really. It's kind of a tie at the top. So they have great talent in the door, but a lot of fresh faces, a lot of new starters. Gunnar Stockton taking over. We only really saw him for 6 quarters, and granted, it was against two of the best teams in the country. So I want to really see him this year after a full off season of starter reps, and so I think we'll see. He's going to improve big time. Offensive line's a question too, but when you look at the fundamentals, I mean, these are all top 100 recruits. This is like a who's who of signing day. So it's just a matter of who emerges and how quickly they gel. So, long story short, I don't think we have a 2021 or 2022 Georgia, but I also don't see them falling off like some others have. I think they're going to remain in that top five and be a tough out in the playoff bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. What about let's go on to LSU real quick before we move on to the ACC. Big year for Brian Kelly. I don't believe he's on the hot seat. I don't think he's on any kind of hot seat like some people do. But where do you see what is your outlook on LSU for next year? Do you think the defense improves? Your take on Nussmeier and the offense?
Yeah, well, this is a really pivotal year for Brian Kelly because now he's had enough years to build it. He's had great financial investment from the boosters to go and secure the number one highest paid coordinator in college football history, Blake Baker. That was last cycle. And then this cycle, the number one national transfer class. And you know how expensive these transfer guys are. So he's had the financial investment. He's got to go collect some W's now. And I think they will. They're right on the fringe of the playoff bracket for me. I have them 10th overall, which would be the last team in the bracket. If you look at the cover of the magazine, I think they're going to get the final at-large spot, probably as a 10-2 or a 9-3 SEC fourth place team. And SEC will get four in there. So if I'm calling them my fourth team, I think they're in the bracket. But a couple particulars, yeah, I like Nussmeier at quarterback. He's really clutch in the fourth quarter. You saw him do that against Ole Miss and time again. I like the receivers that they added. And then really the biggest thing why I'm moving them up the ladder here is their defense. I'm expecting a second-year coordinator bonus from Baker. He's been great everywhere as a coach. I think it happens here. Look at Harold Perkins at linebacker and Weeks at linebacker. It's a great defense and it has a lot of potential. So all that to say, they're my last team into the playoff bracket, and it's really a make or break season for Brian Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big year for him. My co-host, he's an LSU fan, so he definitely want to get some LSU talk in there. Texas, they lose a lot, but you have them winning the SEC. I think most people have them preseason number one or number two. What have you? Is it just the fact that Sark kind of has built it up now to the point to where it's kind of like Georgia and other programs where yeah they lose a lot, but they recruit really really well. They do well in the portal. Is that kind of where you're at with Texas on why you have them finishing number one in the SEC?
Yeah, that's a lot of it. And, in the book and on Twitter, I've called this category the dynasty tier. And it's really these teams that recruit at 5-star clips every year. They're top five recruiters every year. They bring in high dollar transfers, great coaching schemes, great coaching staffs. So when you think of the dynasty tier, to me, it's really Georgia, Bama, Ohio State. That's kind of it. Clemson had a run there, but I think they've fallen off. But I say that all to say is that I think Texas is knocking at the door of that tier. They're so close. Back-to-back Final Four appearances, once in the Big 12, once last year at the SEC. They were, two tough games against Georgia away from running the table. So I think they're right there. And then when you look at the particulars, yeah, they just signed the number one recruiting class in the country. I think they're going to get an upgraded quarterback. I know it's a little bit speculative with Arch Manning, but he was rated the number one overall recruit for a reason. I think also he brings a little bit of mobility to them. That's going to help in short yardage and in goal line situations that Ewers really couldn't help with. Think of the Ohio State playoff game where they were shut out at the goal line, and now you have a runner at quarterback. So yeah, a lot to like from them. I mean, you can go position by position. I know it's some new faces, but you got 5 stars everywhere. Love their defense. Again, you have all Americans at every level. So yeah, I mean, it's right there. It's a crowded top. It's Texas, Bama, Georgia. But right now, I'm siding with Texas right now.
Awesome. Uh, the ACC. I think Clemson's getting a lot of love, deservedly. I think I have them preseason top five, if I remember right. So I don't want to spend too much time on Clemson. I think we all kind of know a lot about them. The ACC is interesting to me because it does feel pretty wide open. 2 through 5. It seems. You have Miami finishing number 2. What is it about Miami that has you confident that they'll finish second in the ACC, playing in the ACC championship game? I'm not that high on them, I'll be honest. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on Miami.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're right about Clemson. I think they're the prohibitive favorites. They won it last year, and they bring back pretty much the whole roster. So that's your more traditional pick. I think that's. I think everyone would agree they're the favorites coming in. Then at number 2, it's kind of the inverse, where with Miami they don't return many starters, but they really excel in player talent acquisition, recruiting, and transfers. I know I keep bringing that up on the podcast here, but I mean that's the name of the game in college
Yeah.
football. Now, here's the thing: you got to recruit them, then you got to coach them. And I want to see with this defense if they can fix that because they struggled last year at times on defense, big time. They stacked all their position rooms with 5 stars and great transfers. The secondary alone, they brought in 5 4 stars. It's just unheard of from the transfer portal. So, long story short, what I like about them is their talent acquisition. I think it's a different tier. When you look at the rest of this ACC, I mean, this is not the SEC. I mean, the way that Miami recruits, it puts them head and shoulders above anybody else. Louisville and Georgia Tech are outside the top 25, top 40 in recruiting. Maybe Florida State would be close, but no, Miami's on its own tier in talent acquisition. So there's that. I love Cristobal as a line builder, offensive line guru. I know he's got some in-game coaching issues, but I think we'll get those cleaned up. And yeah, the reason I didn't have them winning it outright was because at quarterback, I'm not sure what we're going to get out of Carson Beck because in 23 he looked like a Heisman candidate. In 24 it was hot and cold. I bring up that Bama Georgia game. I was at it. In the first half, he threw 3 picks. The second half, he looked like a Heisman in that comeback. So it's hot and cold. It's boom and bust. But yeah, I think they're a solid top 10 team. I'm very high on Miami. They're going to be playing Clemson there in Charlotte.
Absolutely. Do you think this is the year Georgia Tech? I'm really high on Georgia Tech. I think they can break that. I think the last 2 years they've gone 7-6, 7-6. Is this the year we can see them finally kind of, I don't know, reach 8, 9, 10, maybe even 11 wins? I do love their schedule, by the way, Georgia Tech's schedule.
Yep, that was one of the main points of picking them here. Is I think I have Clemson, Miami 1-2, and then it became a race for third place. And there was a couple candidates you could think Florida State or Louisville or SMU. I went Georgia Tech in the race for third. A lot of it is their quarterback Haynes King, their running back Justice Haynes. So that 1-2 punch there. I like Brent Key again, another offensive line builder. He churns out top 10 offensive lines with 2 stars and 3 stars. So that's his area of expertise. You're going to see more good line play. And so that's the fundamentals on the offense. But the main thing with Georgia Tech is the schedule. Now, non-conference, they get a couple hard ones. They get Colorado and Georgia. But we're talking ACC rankings and ACC standings. They only play one of the top 7 in the conference. They draw Clemson, then 7 from the bottom half of the league. So that's the thing. When you have these giant conferences and you have no divisions, it's divisionless, then these schedules get so scattered. So the way it shook out for Georgia Tech is that they play 7 of the bottom tier teams of the ACC. So a lot of winnable games, and I think they're going to collect on that. I think they're going to go probably 6-2 in the ACC, and that should be good for third.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with you. Louisville, real quick. I think I found this in your magazine. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I was absolutely shocked by this, and I don't know if it was you that wrote it. My mind's forgetting, but I could not believe that in 23 they had 25 transfers out, 25 in, then 24, 30 out, 32 in, and then 25 was 28 out and 30 in. And yet, they're 10-4, 9-4, and then this year we don't know yet. That's absolutely mind blowing to me that Brom is able to win with that much of losing kids and having to bring in many kids. Do you think Louisville, keeps going 9 wins while continuing to lose that many kids out of the portal and bringing that many kids in?
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, they're doing it again. They're reloading again from the transfer portal at quarterback, at least with a third straight transfer. This one, Miller Moss coming in, USC's former starter. He was pretty good at USC for half the season. He had one bad game against Washington, threw 3 picks, and Lincoln Riley benched him. So looking for a fresh start. But Brom has done that here now twice in a row. He got Tyler Shuck drafted really high in the pros and helped him survive a healthy season finally. Did it the year before too with Plummer. So he really has a track record of building an offense. Now, to your point, with the amount of transfers in, that just goes to show you how great these schemes are. I mean, the coaches are great, the schemes work. It's kind of just plug in your players and it works. So I think their offense was one of the best in the country last year. If you look at my advanced stats, and there's no reason to see any kind of big drop off. So the question is how much they can gain defensively. But I see them right outside the top 25. I've got them 28th. But, a fringe top 25 team, they'll be competitive and a tough out any Saturday.
Absolutely. All right. Moving on to the Big Ten real quick. Is this the year, man, that I know you do your playoff prediction on the magazine, but you don't tell it. I don't think you ever put out your national championship prediction, or I haven't seen it. Is this the year Penn State, I know you have them in the playoff, but is it finally the year where James Franklin kind of breaks through? And I know he has a horrible record versus top 20 or top 15 teams. Is this the year that they do it?
Yeah, this is their shot. This is their 1 year window. And I say that because you're catching Ohio State in a transition season. They lose they sent 14 guys to the pros. I think it's 18 starters gone. You're catching Ohio State transitioning. You're catching Oregon transitioning too. I think they have 19 new starters. So really young. The other two powerhouse teams right now, they're really young. So when you look at Penn State, their strength is how veteran they are. At draft time, they got everybody to return to State College, and you go run down the list. You got Drew Aller at quarterback. I know he struggled against Notre Dame, but you look at his other 12 games, he played really well last year, and they got more explosive plays than ever at Penn State. So, yeah, Drew Aller at quarterback. I love the two running backs. Their big weakness was at receiver, but they go out in the transfer portal and pull in two starters, one guy from USC and another from, I believe, Syracuse. With Pena coming in. So they really boosted their weakness, and defense is always solid. But the thing that people always point out is, hey, James Franklin, he struggles in big moments, and we can't trust him. The way I'm getting past that in my head is that he has two of the best coordinators around him, a lot of brain power there with Coach Lenecki designing the offense. And now they stole Jim Knowles from Ohio State, the guy who, the architect of that great defense. So a lot of brain power, the smartest coordinators in the game, a veteran roster, and catching the two Big Ten rivals in transition years. I think this is Penn State's shot to do it. This is his James Franklin's big moment.
Absolutely. Illinois, we in our group chat, I mentioned before the show, we have an Illinois fan. He's probably not going to like me and you tonight because I looked at your magazine before we got on here, and you have them finishing. I think it's tied for eighth or finishing eighth in the Big Ten. So I'm assuming, like me, you're not really buying them being the team that a lot of people are picking to be a sleeper in the Big Ten, kind of get into the playoffs, kind of be like an Indiana last year. What is your feelings on Illinois? You have them eighth, like I said. What is your overall feeling on them?
Yeah. Well, what I do with the magazine and in my analysis, I try and stay balanced. I think part of it is you watch all the games and look at that kind of stuff, the eye test, as they say. But then also I do look a lot at my advanced numbers because that paints a picture too. And I can't get past Illinois last year because I know they won 10 games and I know it was great coaching by Brett Bielema. But my advanced stats, they only had him 35th in the country last year out of 68 Power 5. That's below average. Ninth in the conference in the Big Ten out of 18. So it just did not have the stat profile of a 10-win team. And I know some people might hate that, but the numbers are pretty predictive for the next year. So that's a bad sign. I know they bring a lot of starters back, and you're hearing this as their argument that, hey, they have 20 starters back. But I do think they've already hit their ceiling. I think it was incredible coaching. They won a lot of close games last year. I think this bunch has kind of hit their peak. So, and historically with Illinois, when they have a breakout year, the follow-up year is more of a transitional. You never see back-to-back big Illinois seasons. So All that to say, I shake out pretty low on Illinois. They're outside my top 25, despite getting some playoff buzz elsewhere. And I've got the ninth in the Big Ten.
Yes, sir. I have a sleeper that I want to run by you in the Big Ten and to make the playoffs. And I want to add that kind of turn this into a two-part question. I have a sleeper, but I also noticed on your playoff predictions, you used to do like in the 14 playoff, you would always try to, have kind of that sleeper team that would always seem to happen. I don't think, unless I miss it, that I've seen any sleeper in your 12 team. But I have one I want to run by you, Washington. You have them, I think, finishing eighth, tied for eighth with Illinois. So I'm assuming you obviously don't think like I do, but I really love that quarterback, Coleman, the running back, and Denzel Boston. What is your thoughts on my sleeper, Washington?
Yeah, well, I have him eighth in the conference, and while that sounds bad, I think that's actually higher than other magazines will have him. So it's
It
all
is.
relative, I guess. Compared to my peers, I got him higher. I like your pick there. Yeah, some things I like about Washington is its second year coach, and Jed Fish. He proved at Arizona that he can build up a team. He did it at Arizona with 2 stars and walk-ons, and here he is. He's got a pretty talented roster here. In fact, he stole a lot of his best players from that Arizona team. So he got them all to come up there to Seattle. So what I like about him, yeah, it's second year bonus. Jonah Coleman's 1,000-yard back at running back. The receivers are strong. The offensive line really bulked up this year. In his transition spring, he only had 6 healthy guys in spring. Now they're a full unit now and they're looking big. So yeah, I could see it. Well, another thing too, when you look at their record last year, it doesn't look that strong, but they drew the hardest Big Ten slate last year and they competed. So I think it bounces back to a favorable schedule this year. And yeah, I think that the big swing game is against Illinois, a team we just talked about. And this one's in Seattle. It's Illinois at Washington. I think Washington beats them there and could swing a little bit of that middle tier of the Big Ten and maybe help out your playoff blue chip
Yeah,
there.
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna try to be quick because I know I kept you a little bit longer than I wanted to. Big 12. I'm kind of shocked, man, that it seems like most of the talk is obviously Texas Tech. I'm seeing some Utah talk. There's just not a lot of talk of the team that you do have finishing first in the Big 12, Arizona State. They returned so much. I think you put in your magazine they were number 2 in returning production, right behind Clemson. You got Sam Levitt coming back. Does it surprise you a little bit that they're kind of just not getting talked to? Because I really believe Arizona State's going to win it again, and I don't know if you believe this. I think they're probably the one Big 12 team that could actually beat somebody out of the Power 2.
Yeah, well, they were close last year. They
Yeah.
had Texas really there, a tight finish. I think Texas had a 4th and 30 or something crazy to convert there, or else it would have been Arizona State advancing. So yeah, they were close last year. And yeah, we'll start with them. The returning production is important. I know I just downplayed that for Illinois, but you got to look at the starting point. And where Illinois struggled statistically last year, Arizona State was really strong. They finished 13th in my game grader, second in the Big 12. So I see them continuing that with pretty much the whole roster back. You lose Cam Scatterbo at running back, but Sam Levitt's drawing first-round grades at quarterback and Tyson at receiver is an All-American candidate. So I like this team to continue. I don't know why they're not getting any buzz. I get that it's a wide open conference. I'll say this too. It's 14 years in the Pick Six previews. This is probably the most wide open conference I've covered. You could argue 7 or 8 teams. I saw the Big 12 media, the coaches poll. They had Kansas State versus Iowa State, and neither of those two are in my top 5. That's how crazy this conference is. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people might just be overlooking the obvious. I think you have a defending conference champion that played really well statistically, has some first-round grades at key spots, and they bring almost the whole team back. So I'd have them as the champ right now. I have a flyer on Texas Tech just because of all that transfer firepower that they added. I know that's been well documented, but that might put them over the hump in a really crowded field. And then I like Baylor and TCU as well, 2 veteran teams. We always think of the Big 12 as Texas and Oklahoma as the big recruiters, but now you take them out of that league. It's now Texas Tech and TCU. Those are the top recruiters now. So within this context, TCU has a lot of talent and could very well find themselves in Dallas.
Yeah, I'm sure you pay attention to Bill Connolly. I heard today. I think he in his Big 12 preview, in his advanced numbers and all that. I think he said all 16 teams in the Big 12 team or in the Big 12 conference has a 36% chance of going 6-6 or winning at least 6 games. That just kind of speaks to how like wide open it is. It's my favorite conference. It's kind of
Yeah.
like a bunch of misfits, the guys that were left, to die during the realignment stage. That unfortunately just keeps going. So I kind of find myself rooting for all those guys. I think the Big 12 is one of the funnest conferences in college football to watch. So much parity. It's almost like you're watching the NFL with the Vegas betting line. I think every game last year was like almost 3.5 spread.
Yeah, they're all one-score games, and I'm glad to hear you say that. I can tell we both love this sport because if you love college football, I mean these stadiums are sold out. They're not in big TV markets, they're not the big Eastern Seaboard cities, but I mean when you go to these places, they love college football. I mean they will pack the house. They're loud. Look at a game at Utah and BYU. The camera is literally shaking on big plays. It's pretty cool, and you find that at all 16 spots in this conference. So yeah, and to your point, they're all close games. It's all one-score games drive a better crazy, but it's great to watch, and I'm excited. It is the most wide open, like I said, conference in probably 15 years from me. So can't wait to see it unfold.
I know what aggravates me the most, and I ain't gonna try to go to tangent, is everybody begs for parity in college football, and I'm like, then watch the Big 12.
Yeah, you've got it.
Like,
They don't appreciate it. They still want to talk about Alabama, Georgia, or I
yeah,
guess Ohio State and all that. So
I'm
yeah,
like,
you have that here. It's currently happening in the Big 12. And they talk about, oh, we need more parity for playoff access. Well, here you go. The winner of this league gets an automatic bid every year now. So if you like parity, go watch some Big 12.
yeah, let's boost those TV ratings up if that's what they really like. But I'm
Yeah.
starting to question that some. Um, all right, Brett, I don't want to keep you too long, so I do want to ask you two more questions. I wanted to spend more time on Big 12, but um, Notre Dame. I'm really stuck. I know I'm saying this a lot tonight, but I really like Notre Dame this year. I know they replaced a quarterback, but my question is, which came from my buddy who's a Notre Dame fan, can CJ Carr be the guy that manages what probably should be a run heavy offense? Do you think he's a guy that can make enough plays to lead Notre Dame back to the national championship game?
Well, it's a perfect setup for a younger five-star quarterback to really grow within big time college football because he has the best offensive line in the country blocking for him. He's got the best running back behind him to hand the ball off to with Jeremiah Love. That guy is incredible, and they added a couple good playmakers at receiver. So it's a great spot for a youngster to take over. Now there are two really tough games to open up with. You'd like to get him a couple cupcakes to grow into the role a little bit, but at Miami and Texas A&M in South Bend two other playoff caliber teams, two other bubble teams, if you will. So he's going to be tested right away. But you like his five-star billing. You like that he was able to win a really competitive spring race for quarterback. He beat Angeli, the incumbent backup, and another top 200 guy, Kenny Minchie. So he went and earned this spot. Now I think they're going to be fine. The thing that shocked me with Notre Dame this year in the research is I do my 5-year recruiting trend, and the Brian Kelly years, Notre Dame was usually 20th or 15th at best, but now they're averaging 7th in the country in recruiting. This is unheard of for Notre Dame. So big credit to Marcus Freeman elevating that recruiting profile, and you're seeing it translate onto the field too. I mean, it's NFLers everywhere. So behind an elite defense, an elite offensive line, Jeremiah Love carrying the ball 20 times a game, I think Notre Dame gets back to the playoff bracket in consecutive years. And who knows? By the time January rolls along, CJ Carr has 13 starts under his belt and could make a playoff run.
Absolutely. All right. Final question. I know you don't do this like you. I don't. I know every year when you make your playoff picks, who's going to be in the playoff, 4 team or 12 team. You don't like set out to absolutely have to have a sleeper. I know that's not your intention, but most of the time you do have somebody that's kind of like a sleeper in the 14. I've noticed with this field, unless I'm missing something, you didn't really have like that sleeper team. Was that just because you didn't really see anybody, or is it because it's a 12 team playoff now? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I guess the bracket here looks a little bit like chalk. I mean, it is the top recruiters, the top
Yeah,
talent acquisition in the country. A lot of them are veteran. So, I wasn't sure. I guess Arizona State would be the craziest, but they were in it last year. So somebody has to win that Big 12, that crazy Big 12. Maybe Miami. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody else would really have Miami in their playoff bracket. But I've got them there as an at-large team, number 2 from the ACC. I just love their talent profile, like we talked about earlier in the show. And when you look at the ACC, it really drops off after a couple teams. So I think they're going to collect a lot of wins and probably get in at 10-2 or 11-1. So, yeah, no real sleeper. Miami and LSU are the last 2 in for me. If I could go a couple more spots, I mean, maybe USC could break through. I'm really high on them. I've got them 4th in the Big Ten. Texas Tech and Baylor and TCU, I hit on those because again, they're only a player or 2 away from winning that automatic bid. So those would be the teams I'd look at. I'm tempted to throw A&M in there, but they always tend to disappoint me. Now, I guess it's different now with Mike Elko, but how many times have you heard it's different now? This A&M is different. So I don't want to go there again. I don't want to be quoted calling for a playoff for A&M. They got to go earn it. But yeah, so that's what I throw out there. And I like your Washington pick. The Big Ten's going to get multiple bids in there, and you might just be a couple 1-score wins away from breaking through.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, Brett, I appreciate this. I've followed you for years, man. I'm one of your biggest fans. Love the magazine again, man. It's people, I'm telling you, he doesn't need me telling everybody, but I'm telling you, this is the best preview in the game. Favorite. We purposely outlined our preview shows. I told the guys they want to do it earlier. I said, guys, it's got to happen after I get pick 6 in my
Yeah,
hands
there you go.
because it is the only way to get ready for the season. If you're doing any kind of season previews for a blog or for a podcast, YouTube show, it's a great resource, and he makes me look extremely smart when I'm not. So appreciate you, Brett, for coming on, man, and can't wait to talk to you down the road.
Chris, well, thanks for having me on, and good luck with the podcast this fall. And appreciate your support over the years. I think that me and you both love the sport. We love certain factors of the sport that makes it unique, and I'm glad we connected over the years. But yeah, you'll have to have me back on later in the fall, maybe mid-season. We'll see how these predictions are shaking out, and maybe you get some refreshed rankings in there for you. But yeah, thanks for having me. I'll come on anytime, and good luck this season.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. We'll holler at you later. All right, guys. Great show. Brett has been wonderful to me over the years. Love the guy. He does great work. Like I said, I cannot say enough good things about him. But yeah, appreciate it. Tomorrow night we're going to be doing our ACC previews, so check them out on YouTube. It's 8:30 Eastern. So come check us out. We'll start with the ACC, and we'll see y'all then.